everybody, Ryan here from Music City Live. Welcome to the show. I'm here with Darryl Hurs. Darryl?
Hello.
Thank you for coming on, man. Founder and owner of Indie Week. What's Indie Week?
Right. Well, Indie Week, as it started, was a response to, the underrepresented indie emerging artists possibly not getting recognition, having a space to play. So I saw a lot of festivals that a lot of local artists were getting overlooked, ones that could sell a lot of tickets, they deserve spots, so created my own festival. It's called it Indie Week. Really brainstormed that name a lot.
Yeah.
And thought let's say what it is. And that was just over 20 years ago.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll get into the indie thing. I know I got a few questions about, I know you're kind of the indie guy, right? So
seems to be. Yes.
Yeah, it's sort of happened.
It just happened. My life just happened that way.
That's cool though. So talk to me about where you're from, where you're born, where you grew up, that kind of stuff. Where do you come from?
Sure. I grew up in Edmonton, Alberta.
Nice.
Home of the Oilers.
Yeah.
And, I grew up there, and I just remember since grade 6 loving music, and I've always wanted to be part of music. So grade 6, I knew music is going to be it. I didn't know quite what.
That's cool.
And moved to Toronto in 1995.
1995. What was your first sort of thing into music? Like, so what happened in grade 6 that made you know? Was there anything specific?
I think there's a few things. Cheap Trick,
Yep.
Live at Budokan was a really hot album. Meatloaf, Bad Out of Hell, was all over the place.
Sure.
Kiss, like who didn't want to be Kiss?
Right.
And it's just like, it looked like it was a way out. I don't know how to explain it, but I think most musicians are sort of drawn to being not the corporate job, not the normal thing. And at grade 6, I just knew that's what I wanted to do.
What took you to Toronto?
Band.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was in a band in Edmonton, and we were doing quite well. And the singer kind of pulled us aside one day and said, "Hey guys, I think it's over because I'm moving to Toronto." And she'd lived in Toronto previously and had moved back to Edmonton and was missing Toronto. So she's like, "I'm moving back." And I was like, "I'll move." I didn't even hesitate or anything. And
Did you know anybody there at the time?
no one.
Wow.
And
That's huge.
Yeah, and our bassist, who is my roommate, he's like, "I'll go too." So 3 of us moved to Toronto on a whim.
So there was no plan. It was just like, let's go. That was it.
That was it.
So what did you do for a job? Like, what did you do when you got there?
Well, I was working at HMV at the time, so I asked them to get a transfer, and luckily they did. But yeah, when I decided, it was just okay, let's do it.
Wow.
And that's how long literally that's how long it was. And my family was like, "What what are you doing?" I'm going for it.
They were fully supportive. They were behind you. Somewhat. Yes.
They
No.
kind of had
maybe?
no choice.
Yeah.
It was-
Right.
It's
Okay.
either yes or no. But
Okay, I get that.
packed up the van, and it is like, well, one of them was like, "How are you going to do that?" I'm like, "Get in the van and drive that way, and eventually I'll be in Toronto."
Yep.
And like, where are you going to where are you going to stay and stuff? I'm like, I think they have apartments or condos that people live in. I'll find one. So no plan. And
And when was this?
95.
95. Oh, that was a great time in Toronto to be in Toronto for music.
It was overwhelming at the start because, I literally just came across some of the old paper clippings where it's like, wow, every single night of the week, there was a show to be at.
Oh yeah.
Somewhere, somebody worth seeing was playing. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, absolutely. Sunday even. And there was a great scene, and I think we didn't realize there was a scene at the time, but you could go out, and if this place, it's kind of, I don't know, there's another place down the street to walk, and bands are playing. And as a result, a lot of musicians were always out, so you started to hang with other bands, and you get to know other people fairly easily and quickly, and then you're part of that community. And I find that doesn't really exist as much these days.
No, it's different, right? People connect in different ways now, right? They don't connect socially as much. They connect more on their phones and tablets and devices and whatever.
Yeah.
And they still do get together, but it's just not the same, right? It's not, you don't build the same bonds. You're not together as much physically anymore. It's different. You don't
Yeah.
have as much shared experience.
And I also feel even just communication skills, like networking at a bar, you're hanging out at a bar and it's all bands and you just, hey, that's a guitar player from so and so. You go talk to them
Yeah, yeah.
and exchange phone numbers back in the day and you'd call them. And it was a little bit different because I feel now without that type of interaction, I see people having not as much openness to just contact somebody out of the blue,
Sure.
even online.
Yeah.
It's really interesting to see, and I see it more and more every day.
Yeah, it is interesting. And at that time, especially to come out of that time, because I was in the music biz at that time too. I was doing a lot of shows with a lot of bands that were kind of on the up and coming, and or had made it in Canada, but weren't weren't nationally televised and this kind of thing. But they were playing decent sized rooms,
Right.
But that was a great time for especially in the rock world, and dance too, and hip hop. Like all the genres kind of had a good run in the '90s.
Oh, amazing.
But obviously Toronto specifically known for the rock, right? And there was a lot, like you say, there was a lot of venues. There was multiple bands every night. Like it was just, there was stuff always going on. And you had Speaker's Corner, right?
Yeah,
Lots
very
of
cool.
famous people right now that all went on Speaker's Corner, right? Bare Naked Ladies and all these different people. It was just a fun time, I think. Like it was just fun to be out in Toronto in those days. Like I don't know
Yeah.
if it's that fun anymore.
Well, and there was also you didn't know what you're going to get sometimes, and there'd be a nice surprise. So, for instance, I was a real big fan of Big Sugar.
Yeah.
And found out, hey, every Wednesday night at the Cameron House was Gordy Johnson's rib joint, and you walk in and he's on the bar playing stand-up bass. His brother's walking around playing trumpet. Someone's at the piano over there. Great Bob Scott, I think, was on drums, and because it was also players playing, other musicians came out to check out the chops.
You're right.
And so you never knew who was in the audience and might jump on stage and do something. And that was really cool. Like, especially
Yeah, that is cool.
someone from Edmonton would be like, wow, hey, he's in Blue Rodeo. Hey, I think that's so-and-so. Like, it was always a little eye-opening because we didn't necessarily get that in Edmonton too much.
No. Yeah, right. Yeah, different culture there, right? And just just the people are at that time. A lot of the people were there. A lot of people were in Toronto, and they would go just for the hang, right?
Yeah,
That's
absolutely.
I do this trade show in January in LA, and I always get asked like, "Oh, what was good at the show?" Big show in LA, and I always say the same thing to everybody. I'm like, there really hasn't been anything, revolutionary technology wise or whatever at the show in years. I don't go for that reason. I go for the hang. Like I go to hang out and see my colleagues and meet new people. And it's that connection, right? That shared experience that you just can't duplicate anywhere else.
Yeah, and moving from Edmonton, so I moved here with a band, and then they didn't quite like it, so they moved back to Edmonton. So I literally was by myself.
So wait a minute. What happened to the band? Didn't work out?
Yeah, they just moved back. They didn't like Toronto,
Wow.
and
How long did it take for that to happen?
half a year,
Oh,
maybe
so
maybe
nothing.
a year, maybe a year.
And you stuck it out.
Yeah. Well, again, I was all about music, and I could see this is the place to be in Canada. And I had to know people. So I went out a lot, networking and schmoozing, talking to people. And, there used to be a industry night every Tuesday at the Horseshoe Tavern where all the A&R reps would be out. And because they were out, then all the bands would be out. So that was the night to hang out all the time.
Too bad that isn't still happening.
Yeah. Well, A&R,
Yeah. Yeah. There's a whole other conversation, but yeah.
Yeah, and I remember talking to one, like kind of a bit of crossover when it was sort of slowing down in the A&R space as far as them going out. And I asked him, so who's the hot band? Who've you signed lately? And he's like, signed anyone? He's like, I haven't signed anyone. I want to keep my job.
Oh, wow.
So he's like, I go out,
Ugh.
I write reports, and I hand them in, and I say maybe in 6 to 8 months we'll check them out again, because he was like at the time saying if we sign somebody and they fall flat, we're fired.
Oh, wow.
So it's better for us to.
So there's no risk at all, eh? Now?
Well, back then during that time he was like, yeah. So I'm not signing anybody unless it's 100% because I want to keep my job.
Oh, so that was back then.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Like it was probably around 2002 or so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So after Napster, after the crash, after all that,
Yeah.
when all that started to kick in. Interesting. Yeah, it's different. It's different then. There was a change. It's even different now. Very different now.
It's interesting. We're in a very odd space, but I feel a lot of the things we used to do still works, but no one's doing it.
I know.
Because
I know. I say this all the time.
It's not a thing.
Yeah. Yeah. And if it ain't broke, don't fix it. That's my philosophy on a lot of things, right? And I also have another saying too, right? If it does, just because you're doing it a certain way doesn't mean it's right. So there's always room to pivot and change, and but yeah, it's weird. Some of the stuff that we used to do just worked really good, and then the wheels just fell off the train when a whole bunch of CFOs got hired.
Yeah. Well, as far as bands go, I find social media has made it hard to actually build fan bases that are actual fan bases.
Mm-hmm. I know where you're going with this.
And I think a lot of it is, again, communication, where if we were out all the time and I meet, say, 20 people in a night, that's 20 people know when my next gig is. And if I do that in 5 nights, that's 100 people that know when my next gig is. And if my gig is 4 weeks away, I potentially have told 400 people when my next gig is.
Yep.
And the place holds 70. So I've got a good chance of having a full room. And it's amazing. I consult some artists and then I'll say, you should just go out, be present in the scene, support it.
Yeah.
But meet people and talk to people. And that's difficult. And also I think the scene has changed where maybe they also aren't talking to people as much,
Yeah. Why do you think it's changed? What's your opinion on why it's changed?
Well, social media and internet is the big one.
Yeah.
And there was also a different mentality of being in a band. It's kind of like being in a gang, all for one, and putting everything into this one thing to try to make it work. So you did everything together, you hung out together, you rehearsed, and like it was just, you were always doing stuff. And I think what's happened now, and I've seen this, like last time I was a booker at, I was booking a club called Rivoli in Toronto, and I started seeing it then where I would try to book a band and he'd have to say, well, I have to ask our singer because he's in a cover band. Our drummer, well, he gets hired for other bands, and so in the band DJs. So we have to see if we're available.
Right.
And some bands, it took months to just one show.
Wow.
Where when we were all in the one unit, it'd be easy to go, we're in, and make that decision fairly quickly.
Yeah, right.
So I think that, and it's a result of artists trying to have a sustainable career, and one isn't paying the bills, so they need to have the side gig, and cover band pays bills. Being the sidekick of somebody else pays bills. So I totally get it.
Yep, absolutely. And I mean, it's different places, right? I've heard stories about artists in some of the European countries getting paid to be artists, from the government.
I know this firsthand.
Yeah. So that's an interesting scenario, right? There's a lot of money that gets pumped into the industry. I'm not sure where it all goes, but certainly artists are not living off our government to be artists. That's not a thing. And like you say, so as a result, they got to pay the bills. And yeah, I get it too. I hire lots of them to work in my shop, right? In my music store and in my shop. And so they're working here, which is keeps them as part of the industry. Even some of the people that work here, they don't even play anymore. Like they're older and they've kind of gotten out of it or whatever. They're not interested anymore, but they still love coming here. They still love hanging out with musicians because it's their people, right?
Absolutely.
But yeah, I get it. However, I've also seen lately even some local guys who've gone all in on their career, so to speak. And they're available for everything, and they're shooting music videos, and they're doing all, again, like we said, doing all this stuff that back in the day worked. They're doing it all. They're doing it, and even if it doesn't stick today, they're doing it, and they're putting 100% in. And if you called them as a booker today, they'd be like, "Yeah, I'm in." But that is so rare.
So rare, yeah.
That there's definitely something to be said about figuring out a way to try to go all in on your career. And I've seen a couple of bands sort of like do some interesting, like, I won't call it crowdfunding, but some interesting ways to sort of fund that.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, I think artists have to be creative in the revenue space. Until they're a no name, like it's an industry where you're kind of like, and I hate saying it, but it's kind of like the stock market. If you're
That's a good
hot,
analogy.
your value goes up to the person that's willing to pay. We just saw Oasis do world tour, 60,000 cap type stadiums. 250 is maybe the lowest price ticket, but all up to the thousands, and they're sold out. So there's a value that somebody sees there willing to pay that ticket price. And I think that as an artist, you have to find a way to convince people your value. And I think if you try to put that value before convincing them, that's where it doesn't connect and doesn't work. And I've seen it work a lot of times. And, I've got a tech background, and I kind of go to artists when I'm consulting and say, well, how much do you pay to use Facebook? Like, sign up. Nothing. Okay. And how much do you pay to use Google? Nothing. Okay. And are they making money? So they are, right? And so their value at the start was, come on in, it's free, get to know it, and now you want to use it, and then they found a way to make money around that.
Sure.
And I think that that's something that artists, if they really took a closer look at that, they can make really serious money in other ways. I try to, when I'm consulting and working with artists, I try to teach, like, where does money come from? And it's a common denominator. I want to sell more tickets. People. I want more streams. People. I want to sell more merch. People. So let's actually focus on people. And a lot of that is building up your perceived value to them. And so they're willing to buy, the VIP package. They're willing to buy the extra. They're willing to buy a meet and greet. And when you also build that value, then sponsors want access to your people. So I always say focus on people. And there's been a lot of talk about fan engagement, but I think it's been worked incorrectly because, again, fan engagement, I'm going to work on fans, try to sell, but if you haven't built that value yet, who are you selling to, right?
Right. Yep.
So I work on ways to try to build audiences that has a low barrier and bring them on board, and then they go, wow, this is amazing. I'm willing to pay for something. And
scale from there.
Yeah. And I'd rather sell merch to a room of 200 people that possibly haven't paid to get in, rather than 20 people that pay to get in.
Sure.
And it's often, if it's a free type of, and I'm not saying free shows, but if they hadn't paid a cover charge, they're probably more willing to support the band and pay $25 for a shirt.
Sure.
And the cover charge would have been $10. So we potentially have more than doubled the income just by that perception. They want to support the band. Do you have shirts? Yeah, it's $25. I'll take one. And they hadn't paid at the door in some cases. So they have money in their pocket and they want to support. So we were able to kind of like convince, you know, concert goers there's value here. And we would see it in merch sales. And then we were able to translate that and go pitch sponsorships.
So when were you doing all this? Like, is this something that you were doing or are doing, or
all the above? Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, so I was a musician. I moved here, and then, like I said, the band left. So I was like, what do I do? So I just hustled. Like, I would do postering. I did lights for Venue.
Which venue?
Well, it was previously Gasworks.
Oh, the Gasworks.
And then it opened as another club. It didn't really take off, but I was the light guy with they need lights.
Nice.
And I did postering once a week for them. But I did odd jobs. I would get paid to do busking at festivals or for a play. Did the guitar work for that.
Oh, wow.
Hired gun at times. Paid to drive bands. I had a van that I moved to here with, so I got paid to drive bands around. So anything I could do to not get the day job and be a musician. And then finally a friend had said, hey, I'm doing sound at this club and they've got a actual live music venue upstairs, but it's not being used. You should go talk to the owners. And I'm like, what for? Well, you should book there. And I'm like, okay, I've never done that, but sure, it's just like booking shows. And I'd been booking shows, right? And I'd started doing like monthly shows around Toronto. So I went in and I met the owners and said, hey, this is pretty cool. They showed me the room. And next week I emailed them or called them and said, here's the calendar. I've booked all the way up to Christmas. And they're like, we thought you just wanted to do a show. So I'm like, well, I've got the whole rest of the year booked, like September, October, November. It's all booked. And they're like, okay, we thought you're just doing one show. We'll have to figure this out. So essentially I gave myself a booker's job at a venue. And I was there for 2.5 years.
Oh, wow.
So you can make your own jobs at times.
Yeah, that's cool.
And it was in the music biz. So,
and how long were you in the booking thing for?
that was 2.5 years at that place. And I got to say, it was off the grid. It's Peter and Richmond in Toronto. And the thing is, it was really cool. Like, this is where the Indie Week kind of came about. But people who played there, Ricky Tillo, who ended up being Lady Gaga's music director, Dan Kanter, who went on to be Justin Bieber's,
Oh, that's cool.
Donna Grantis, who went on to play for Prince. Like, there was all these artists that had come out of that where nobody knew who they were at that time. And a lot of people weren't taking chances, but you could see the talent was there, you know? So yeah, there's a lot of stuff that came out of just doing that, and the experience when you're booking like 5-6 nights a week. There's a lot of experience that you get in doing that. You go through everything that you could think of.
Yeah, you experience everything too, right?
Yeah,
Get a lot of perception and experience out of that. Yeah, for sure. So after that, then what was the next step from the booking thing? Where did you go from there?
It was almost like 4 or 5 things all happening at once. So I was in bands, I was booking, and when I had quit my job at HMV, that too was without a plan. I just quit. I took a desktop publishing course for 3.5 months, and I started doing design and websites freelance. So I was design, musician, booker. I was an assistant designer, and then the school I went to actually hired me to teach as well.
Oh, wow.
So I was doing education, and it all worked because education half a day, go design half a day, book for an hour or two at night. It all worked. And play shows, once a month or something like that. And the digital side, I feel lucky because I literally got on board when the web started. So I started doing websites day one practically. And so I've seen the whole evolution of that. And it was around 2003, I started Indie Week. And it was shortly around that time, I got a client, and it was like the worst phone interview ever, but got Live Nation as a client.
Oh, wow.
And they were, I guess, about 8.5 years we worked together.
Oh, wow. That's a long time.
Yeah. So a whole bunch of different levels of
What were you doing for them?
So when I first started, it was basically graphics, doing marketing assets and such. And this is where I really learned it's who you know. Everything in this business is who you know.
Especially in Canada.
Yes. So I had the worst interview. It was on Monday, and I got a call out of the blue. It was around 1, 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and was like, "Hey, I hear you do Photoshop and web." Yeah. Okay, great. Do you have a resume? No, it's out of date. Doesn't show really what I could do. Okay, do you have a website? Same thing. I took it down because it doesn't show what I could do and this and that. Like, it's really out of date. And back then, when the web was progressing, like, it looked really old if you weren't up to date. So we took that down. And then it's like, well, do you have anything that you could send? And I was like, well, back in these days, there's no Google Drive, no nothing. So hard drives were getting full. So I'm like, I archived everything. So I got nothing. That's my job interview. And he's like, but you could do it. Yes. Photoshop, web, no problem. Okay, cool. I'll send you files and I'll call you after. And this is like one file per email back in those days. And I'm downloading. I'm like, that's David Bowie. This is Mariah Carey. This has got to be Live Nation. Finally, a web job that fits music. This is perfect. Yeah. I was doing a website for industrial heating. And it was like,
Yeah.
Right. So he called and he said, so you probably guess this is Live Nation. And I was like, yes. And I'm automatically freaking out a bit inside. Like, I know Live Nation is huge and they've got a lot of jobs and I want them all. So he said the job was to design a fan club card for each of these artists. And it was going to be sold through Walmart. And I was like, absolutely, no problem. And he's like, okay, because it's due tomorrow at 8.
Oh, of course it is.
Right? And I'm like, I don't care. I want all the jobs. So he called me the next day freaking out. He's like, man, you got to send me these files. And I'm like, what? What files? No, I sent you a link. And he's like, a link? Yeah, click it. Remember, it's still new in those days, right? So he clicked it, and he's like, what's this? And I was like, well, if you put your mouse over it, it flips. You see the front and back. If you click it, 2 more options pop out. And he's like, wait, you did a website to show the options overnight? Yes. And in my head, I want all the jobs. So we got the gig. So I did the cards, and then they asked, could I do the microsite for Walmart to sell these cards? Yes. So I've got job 2. And then I get a call and it's like, we've got a conference call 8 o'clock tonight. I'm like, am I in trouble? Like, did I do something wrong? And they're like, no, it's with LA and India. And so it was talking about a web project which turned into launching VIPnation.com for them, which was quite the undertaking, and we head up the entire project. The gentleman who called me is Bruce Barrow. If you know Platinum Blonde, he managed Platinum Blonde.
Oh, wow.
And he did a lot of marketing stuff, so I was very lucky to work with him, and we worked together 8 years on it. And it led to, after that, branding the entire company. So there was a logo that was a ticket, and it said fan-powered, artist-driven. And we did the entire corporate brand for Live Nation.
Wow.
So it went from like the smallest job to the biggest job. And,
That was your intention, though.
go for it. Like if you're doing something, go for it. Don't mess around. Be professional, be on time. And I really feel over deliver. So it's kind of like, if you think it's going to be this, I want to do this. And it worked. We did a lot. I was there. The funny part is the logo we designed was a ticket. And then I was there for the merger with Ticketmaster. I had to design the press release to send to the world.
Oh, God.
This, no stress. There's a lot around that.
Yeah, no pressure at all.
No pressure. The lawyers would be like, "There's a dot missing," and okay. And then, we rephrased this. Okay. And they're like, "It's 5 minutes late." Okay. Whew. Sent. And so that was kind of an interesting thing to be on. But then they're like, "We can't have a ticket as a logo anymore because Ticketmaster." So we had to swap it back to the previous logo. And then their current logos look similar to some of my mock-ups before I left. But yeah, it was quite the ride with them.
When did the 8 years, when did that wrap up? When was that?
I would say that's about 11 years ago.
Okay.
I think.
Yeah.
Something like that. But it was cool. Like you didn't know what job was coming at any time, and it was fast and furious. It really taught me how to hustle quickly because the deadline. Like there was literally one time I was teaching at the teaching gig, and I saw a call come in, and walking down the street, I called Bruce, and I was like, "So I saw there's a thing." He's like, "Yeah." He's like, "So this is a rush job," and I said, "So when's it due?" And he's like, "When are you home?" In 5 minutes, he's like, "That's when it's due."
Oh, man.
So I really learned just hustle on the fly, and I think sometimes we get to be perfectionists where we know, you know what, that's good, that'll actually work. Let's run with that, and it allowed me to kind of be able to make quick decisions in that sense.
That's cool.
So,
And then what you mentioned to me when we were chatting earlier about CD Baby.
yeah.
Where does CD Baby come into the mix?
So that was before COVID. It was a very interesting thing. I did Indie Week in UK, and we got sponsored by CD Baby in UK. And I did a trade mission through South America at different music conferences, and I met all the CD Baby reps. So it seemed to be like there's a CD Baby stuff around. And through that, one of the reps said, "Hey, we've got a new VP of International. He'd be a good speaker at your conference." So we invited him up to be a speaker at Indie Week. And shortly after, I got an email. He said, like, "Hey, Canada seems pretty cool, like a lot going on. Do you know anybody that, might be a good person for us to look at hiring to be a rep?" And I said, "Yeah, I probably know a few." He's like, "Cool, could you send the email out?" I'm like, "Sure." I didn't. And then I put myself in the hat, and I was like, this would be a good job. Like, I would like to apply. So was able to do an interview and get the gig.
So what is working for CD Baby? What does that entail? Like, and what is CD Baby? Because there's probably a lot of young people watching this don't even know what it is.
Right. So CD Baby is a music distributor. So basically getting your music online, streaming platforms. And where CD Baby's history is slightly different than the rest, it was the first one for independence. At the time, Apple, when it launched, you had to be signed to a record label, no independent at all. So CD Baby was the first distributor to get it onto Apple. So very reputable, because it was the owner at the time, Derek Sivers, who I'd talked to a few times, and he had started selling his music online. So other independent artists were like, "Could you do that for us?" So he started doing that, and it started building. And then Apple was like, we don't want to deal with indies. Could you be the one to just deliver to us? So, so that's the background of CD Baby. And basically, so I was the market manager of Canada for CD Baby. And it's really being on the ground, going to conferences, festivals, talking to artists, educating artists, being in the market and being visible. And then a lot of it is education for artists on how to release your music successfully. So that they had like CD Baby podcast and blog and newsletters and stuff. So
Cool.
it's just being boots on the ground because they're an American company.
Yep.
So, and I was part of the international team, which was very cool. But COVID really changed a lot.
It did, eh?
It was, well, first it was like, we called it a tsunami because basically every artist is at home. So like, wow, I've got 50 songs I've never released. Let's upload it all right now.
Oh gosh.
So I can't tell you like the amount of music that was uploaded. Like there was one week where it equaled almost like an entire decade of music that had been uploaded previously. Like
Wow.
it was insane.
That is crazy.
It was, yeah. And artists were like, why is it taking so long? Like there was a 3-month backlog to just get music up.
Well,
It was crazy.
yeah.
So that was, it was booming, but it was just stretched a lot. Like there was so much to do. And then the company was sold to Downtown. And so we were part of Downtown. And then just recently Downtown was sold. They're trying to sell. So
Oh, I didn't know about that.
yeah.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah. So that was what I did during COVID is, well, previously to COVID and then about during COVID, I was doing it all remotely. Yeah.
Nice. What? So the CD Baby thing after COVID, post COVID, then what?
Yeah. So the current,
The now.
yeah. So COVID killed Indie Week. It really, we're a music festival and conference in person. So a couple years of COVID, nothing in person.
Too hard to bring it back the way it was.
Then in Toronto, like prices, like hotel rates are so expensive. Like to ask indie artists to pay that is really tough.
Yeah.
About half our venues are gone. So it really taught me like, here's something like we run it through venues, but we don't own the venues. And if half are gone, our value just went to half.
Right.
Out of our control. And then if we can't bring in the same number of artists or that level, our value has also gone down.
Yep.
And, that's going to sponsors and grants and funders. So a lot just goes down. During COVID, we started doing webinars. And it came out of, we were literally a week away from closing shop for good.
Wow.
And we had downsized. There's only one employee at the time and me. And I just sort of said, we're at this crossroad. We either just end or we go for it. I don't know what that means. I don't know what, but we could try to do this stuff online. But our option is quit or try and go for it. And so we decided to try and go for it. We did a webpage, Indie Week online conference, put some dates, tickets on sale, no sponsors, no funders, no speakers, no schedule, nothing. And we sold tickets day one.
Wow.
And we're like, okay, now we really got to do this. Like, damn, kind of was thinking maybe what if not, and we get option B again and, but so we now had an obligation and we're like, how are we going to do this? So I just said, let's start a webinar. It's next week, next Tuesday. We'll call it again, really creative Indie Weekly. So we do Indie Weekly every Tuesday, 4:00. And people were joining the webinar and we used that as a way to like, let's get people to the webinar. And then when they're there, tell them about the conference online.
Yeah.
And who do you have talking? I don't know. What are the topics? we had nothing. So then we started building that, and we're like, okay, how are we going to get sponsorships? So we decided a month before to host a mentorship series on how to be export ready, how to get your music internationally. And we were able to get some sponsors on that. And then we were like, well, would you want to sponsor two things, this series and our conference online? So we were able to actually get funding through sponsorships that way.
Oh, okay.
And it was successful, and we started doing other conferences, kept the Indie Weekly going. And the hard part was you build a conference, get attention, and then everybody goes away. And then you build another one, you got to try to get them back. So we launched an online music community called DIT.
Oh, yeah, right.
And it's called DIT for Do It Together. Indie is thought of DIY. And in this business, I'm always like, well, if you do it yourself, that's kind of the hardest way to do it. We should do this together. And COVID taught us that. So we've got a community. There's over 4,000 members worldwide. And it's kind of like we have our own Zoom, Facebook, YouTube, and LinkedIn. And it's all for music. That's it. So if you go on, anyone there you talk to is in the music industry, either as artist or industry.
Nice.
And now we're at a level where we're doing a whole music export section. We're about to launch a songwriting section. We've got a gig network section, and we still do indie weeklies.
Nice.
Yeah, so it's taken a total different turn.
Yep. Well, you're
know.
pivoting, like I was saying earlier, right? You're embracing the change.
Well, we've got to, right?
Well, you do. It's sink or swim, man. I mean, that's what it is.
Well,
Like you said, you either quit or you go for it, and you make it up as you go almost. Like,
yeah, and this business has taught me that through my history. Like I remember going way back to those HMV days, and I have a joke about it because I remember we were receiving product, and I think it was a Metallica album, and I was like, "Where's the cassettes?" And they're like, "Well, they didn't make any." What do you mean they didn't make any? I use cassettes all the time. And the joke was kind of like, well, Daryl Warner didn't call you to ask you for your opinion. Should we keep doing cassettes or not? They're just going to do whatever they want to do.
Sure.
And we got to play ball with it, right?
Yeah.
So that's kind of how I look at it from that point on. Was the biz is going to be the biz, and we're part of it or we're not.
Yeah, you get on board, and you can add things to it. You can pivot. You can create your own things, right?
Absolutely.
Create change in your own way, right? And if people dig it and they latch on, then great. Just kind of like you putting tickets on sale, and all of a sudden people latch on. It's like, hey, this is great. Yeah, it happens. It happened to me too. I started a conference. It's called the CDJ Show in Toronto. It was a EDM DJ conference, and it was born out of Doug Scott, who's the at the time was the president of the Canadian Disc Jockey Association. He said, "Hey, I want to do a show for my members somewhere in Kitchener. Kind of in the middle between Windsor and Toronto. Like, do you want to be a sponsor of this thing?" And I said, "Well," he said, "Yeah, I can. Like, who's coming?" And he told me, and I was like, I said, like, what? Why don't we do a real show? And he's like, "What do you mean a real show?" He's like, this is all I can do, man. This is my capacity." And I said, well, let me think about it. So I thought about it, and I went, yeah, you know what? Let's do it in London because I have connections here. And let's, I can get some of my manufacturing partners to come out and exhibit, and create a little exhibit hall for these mobile DJs. And we get a few speakers to come in and talk. And the mobile guys all wish they were club guys, so we can get a few cool people from the club industry to come in and talk, touring DJs and whatever.
Right.
And that's how it started. And it was just birthed out of nothing. Literally, it was Doug and I sitting 20 feet from where we're sitting right now, just talking. And then I was like, yeah, let's try it. And we did, and people loved it. People were driving in from all over, and I couldn't believe it. And same thing, we went out west. We went out west with it in 2014. And, and it wasn't as successful as I wanted it to be from an attendance standpoint, but we'd never been out there, and nobody knew who we were. And what it was all about, because I hadn't been before, and flights were expensive, and so they hadn't come to Toronto. But we went out there, and it hit me when there's two guys that approached me. They stopped me in the hallway, and they said, and we still had hundreds of people there, but it wasn't thousands of people. these two guys stopped me in the hallway and they're like, "Hey, we just want to let you know, like, we drove all the way here from Northwest Territories. This was in Calgary.
Yeah, wow.
We drove all the way here from Northwest Territories to be here, and this is a life-changing show for us. This was amazing." And
Yeah.
I'm like, "Wow, that's crazy." And like, for those of you that don't know, that's a huge drive. Like, that's a insane drive, right?
Yes.
Like, from I think where they came from was at least 12 or more hours one way. It was like in the north, like it was quite far. And that just floored me. That blew my mind because it was an insane amount of work to put it together. And we trucked all this stuff out there and set it all up, made it all happen. But it was all worth it. It really was in the end for me. And I think that, you know, as long as people like you and I keep creating, as long as artists and all of us in the biz keep that fire alive and keep pushing forward and creating, working together, I think it'll go up. We're going in the right direction again.
Yeah, I think if you build space where people can connect to collaborate, I think is so important, and a big part is education.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I think if you have those components, you just never know what's going to happen. And I totally agree. You know, our last indie week before COVID, we were at 240 artists from 30 countries.
Wow.
And we were in 24 venues.
That's a lot.
No small feat, right?
No, that's a lot.
Like, just getting the back line out to 24 venues was crazy.
when the Junos came to London in 2019, I was the production manager for Karis for the 21 venues for the Junos, and it was insane.
It's insane.
It was insane, but it was awesome in its own way, I suppose.
Yeah,
for everybody, but
you really do learn a lot during those times. But yeah, it was at that level, you know, and like I'm deep friends with some of the artists that played at that. Like, in fact, one of them is playing this week.
Nice.
Trampa from Brazil. But yeah, it's you also learn. There's this thing called the music business, but there's also people, and it's really the relationships that are made. And maybe you've seen, like, okay, these two people have connected in some way and made music, or it helped level up their career. And just by having that opportunity, it's so rewarding. You know, I was turning the TV on the other day, and I'm like, oh, I remember 20 years ago, you know, being our first conference speaker. Now he's playing Ottawa on the big holiday, you know. Yeah, so there's a lot of that, and it takes time, you know. If there's one thing I could say is, you never know where people are going to end up. Be kind, be nice, because you just never know. And it might be 5-10 years down the road you find out. You know, you just never know where people are going to end up.
How, speaking of creating connection, you're in town, you just flew in, right?
Yeah.
You're in town this week for Venue by Venue.
That's right.
And that's your creation as well?
It's well, when we lost Indie Week, and when things started coming back to live, London had the first major event in Canada after COVID. I believe it was the Country Music Awards.
Yeah.
And I was there, and with members of the music office, and told me how the UNESCO City of Music designation had come about. And so we started talking. I'm like, well, why don't we build an international festival here? So that's where the talk started.
Cool.
We're year 3 of a 5-year plan. You know, first year was London artists. Second was Ontario. Now this year we've got expanded some from Canada and some international, and next year is international.
Wow.
So it's kind of building back towards where we were, right?
Yeah.
And in this type of festival, it takes 5 years to establish. You know, I learned, like, working at Rivoli, like I said, Booker there, and I tell my friends, like, hey, I'm booking at the Rivoli, and they're like, oh, there's music there? And I'm like, for 30 years, there's been music here. Like, how do you not know? And there's a lot, that happens a lot. And other big festivals that have been around 25 years, I ask artists, and they're like, what's that? So It takes 5 years to get established because first year it's like, oh, I've never heard of it. Second, oh, it's that thing I've heard of. Third is like, oh, yeah, that. And then you start getting legs and it really starts taking off. And like we're getting people that are like, I want to be a part of this. How do I be part of this? And a lot of times it's a little bit late in the game. So that's where like, okay, 4th year and then 5th year, and then it really gels. And we've been working hard at getting, connections internationally. This year we've got South Africa Music Week here. We've got 2 festivals from Brazil here. Summerfest from Milwaukee, which is considered the biggest festival in the world. And they're all here to book artists for their festivals.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that. That's really cool.
Well, it used to be like the thing is you used to play a lot of festivals or showcase festivals. We got to make that designation. It's not just a festival, it's a showcase festival in that the opportunity is there. And this is part of the reason why I made Indie Week, because there was festivals that would say it's a showcase, but right next door is Universal Showcase. So where's industry next door? Or they're at the Warner one, or they're at the Sony one. It's really hard for independent to get any kind of industry out when there's that competition.
Right.
So hence Indie Week was only indie. And it's meant to be emerging artists. So that's the other part, is building a festival this way is difficult because a lot of people might not have heard of the artists that you have performing. And the goal is, that's right, come discover them actually.
Yeah, right.
So you want to build that reputation of, oh, wow, you go there and you see really good music that you've never heard of, but they could be your next favorite band.
Because, you're booking these people, and some of these people are coming from far away. So, obviously you're qualifying these people. Like you're digging into them. You know that they're talented. They're going to, so yeah, if you're into music and you want to discover new stuff, absolutely this would be the place to come. Yeah.
Yeah, and we try to be very diverse. Our youngest performer is 12. And
oh, wow.
I believe our oldest is 71 or 65. So
that's cool.
Yeah, and we've got like every type of genre, everything in between. And it's about trying to build a unique experience, because when can you see these artists together on the same stage again will be also really tough to put together.
So obviously you just mentioned how it became to be sort of in London, right? That you were here and the music offices got involved. And what's it like? Because I've done shows in London and Toronto, but I'm curious on your perspective. What's the difference, like doing your show here versus doing it in Toronto? What are some of the differences, pros and cons?
Toronto, obviously, I would say like there's more venues selection to go off of, and there's different areas of Toronto now that are popular. Back in the day, it was only Queen Street, but now you've got the Junction, Queen East, Queen West, College. It's all over. So there's a lot of opportunities. But the downside of that is people have started staying in their neighborhood. Like, I'll just go around the corner to the local bar. I'm not going downtown anymore. So trying to pull people downtown to Queen Street, it started to get difficult. We were already noticing that before COVID. So that was one thing that was starting to change in Toronto, and the cost of living and
Cost of everything.
Everything is going through the roof. Also, it's really tough. It's so congested to get, like, if you're at venue A and venue B is across the city, you got to take an Uber, you're probably going to miss the band. Right. So, and we were starting to hear that too.
People don't think about that, right?
Yeah.
Until it's too late, I guess.
It's hard to have a club hopping experience when you can't club hop.
It's interesting. Yeah, because London's kind of got Richmond Row. I mean, there is a few places outside of that. Shout out to George from Eastside, who's held it down, sort of in that Hamilton Road area. But we kind of have like a pocket of places that you can bar hop. Really, you can. And some of them that never used to do live music, like Toboggan, they've started to do it all the time now.
Yeah.
And that's great. I love seeing that. Shout out to the Smith brothers for doing that. And, I think that more places need to do that. I've been saying it less lately on the show, but there was a period of time there last year where I was really pushing like, hey, we need more venues, more venues, more venues. Do you think we need more venues in this town right now? Like from your perspective, what you guys are doing? Or do you think there's there's obviously never enough if we have the people to support it, I suppose, but that's the other double-edged sword to it.
Well, I see there's three sort of layers happening that I'm aware of.
Right.
So you may have a sort of a larger venue and you get touring artists there, and that's really busy, but that's not necessarily reflective on the local scene. The good part is there's a good chance a local artist gets to open for these artists. That's fantastic. Then there is the music venues. But then there's sort of places I'm seeing pop up that are kind of like the underground shows, put together in someone's basement, or I've been starting to see a number of those, and it seems to be that's kind of the scene. And coming from Edmonton, it was the same in Edmonton, and it was a result of potentially some venues not fitting the artists, or the artists not fitting the venues. In any case, they found a need that they needed to create a space for themselves. But that draws people. And when you have people, it will translate going to the venues, because if they could pack a place, who's going to turn it away?
For sure.
So I think it's part of the growing phase of a scene that you'd have these different levels. And then at some point, it's going to really come together.
I hope at that point, and I don't think we're that far away, actually, believe it or not. I think at that point, I'd love to see something like, I use this just as a simple example that lots of people know, like the Bluebird Cafe, right? Where anybody, right? Going back to what happened with you in the 90s, right? In Toronto, at the Horseshoe. Anybody can just sort of get up on stage and do their thing, right? And you have venues that support that. And to your point earlier, find a way to monetize on that, right? Because I think that's part of the challenge and why there's some of these sort of underground parties happening, is because some of the younger acts, I mean, it's not just Canada either, in the States too. Like there's just a lot of people that don't drink anymore.
That's true.
And so it's harder and harder for bars and clubs to monetize. And, like you said, if they're paying $10 at the door, then they're not supporting the band as much. So I think that the bands are found, at least at this phase, like you said, early days, have found a way to sort of find a space for them to do what they need to do for their core fan base that they're growing. But I'm hopeful that, especially, you mentioned 12 to 65. I'm hoping that at some point in London in the next while, we can get a space. And there's some, I mean, the Richmond's is doing it. And there's a few places that are doing it, that are having, all different genres and different walks of life, and giving them a space to play, and for people to learn about them and get exposed to them. And I would love to see more of that. I would support that. I would go out and support that in that type of space. I've got kids now, so me going out and hanging out in metal bars probably ain't gonna happen. I mean, although I love metal music, I love all music. But it's I'm more of that at this phase of my life, kind of the singer-songwriter type of thing, right? So I'd love to see a space or a couple spaces like the Bluebird here in town where people can just get up there and do their thing, and people can come and support it and line up down the street like they do at the Bluebird.
Yeah, no, those are great spaces, man. I have to say I give credit to the venue owners and promoters here, though. What I've seen in the last 2 years is large, like huge development. And I give them credit because they're taking time and care in building an identity for their establishment. and I'm seeing that in many of the establishments here, and they are building a scene like, oh, let's go here for this purpose because this is what they have, right?
Yeah.
It again, it takes time to build that type of reputation, and I'm seeing it. Like I've seen huge growth over the last, I'd say, 24 months. And I give credit to the venue owners here because it shows that they care. It shows that they are putting effort in. And flip side, in Toronto, a lot of them, I think, at a point where, it was really a great scene, kind of got a little bit lazy on the side of, well, people just show up here. We don't have to work hard for this. We are who we are. And I think
COVID killed that for sure, if anything else.
it's made it tough. So you have to work it. And I got to say, I give credit to the venues here. And a big part, like we named it Venue by Venue, because coming out of COVID, one, everybody said live is where artists make money. And if you don't have venues, you don't have a place for artists to develop. And,
That's right. Yeah.
And it starts at the small clubs.
Yeah, it does.
So that was the premise. Venue by Venue is let's put venues in the name and try to put spotlights on venues. And in doing so, being able to showcase artists. It also, often I find there's in the music industry, often a us versus everyone else kind of mentality, where it really like, shouldn't we all just support? Like, if you go out and support venues, that's good for the artists. And I kind of feel that way of my background of being an artist, not knowing anyone, and I connected by just going out. I got to know the bars, and I got gigs because I knew the bars, and I got gigs because I knew the bands hanging out at bars. So I think it's a bit of full circle there, a little bit.
I think my perspective on that is that, like you said earlier, there's the music business and then there's the music community.
Right.
And I like the word community a lot better for many reasons. I like them both for different reasons. But I think that the music business in North America specifically, because I've had quite a bit of exposure to the music business outside of America and Canada. And I think that the music business in North America, and we know that certain labels, certain major labels are run out of North America. And the mentality of that is it's a business. And that's just the reality. And so you have to treat it as such. And so that's a different thing than the community, right? Like the community, I think, there is more of a willingness to co-write and collaborate and work together and in the community side of it. But once you get into the business side of it, it's very different. However, outside of North America, from my experience,
right,
this is not necessarily the case in all countries. There are places that I've been. Amsterdam was one of them. There's a lot of Dutch DJs that have come out of Amsterdam, and they all work together.
Yeah,
they all work together, and some of them have been working together for 30 years. And they still work together to the point where, like, hey man, what bass sound did you use in that track? Oh yeah, right here. Let me show you. Like, it's just a different thing. And so one day I've said this before in the show, but I'll say it again. I asked one of the big DJs at one point when I ran into him in Amsterdam, I said, why does this happen here? Like, why does it happen here, but this doesn't happen back home? Why is this the case? And he goes, well, we just have a different approach, Ryan. He says, don't you notice how many Dutch DJs there are in the world? He goes, we have a different thought process about this. We think that if we all support each other, we all grow together.
That's right.
And versus, oh, it's just about me. Well, there can't really have much of a community in a scene if it's just me.
Yeah.
Right. So they just have a different way of thinking about it. And it works because they're all doing great.
It's such a crazy thing. I had a community label for a while called Gen Subrecords, which stood for Generation Subculture. And the whole premise was whatever type of music you make, there's a subculture somewhere to make it viable. I had deals with 4 venues in Toronto as monthlies. So first week we're at this month, or first week of the month, we're at this venue. Second week, we're at this one. Third week at this one. So like big, small, medium, be able to do different genres. And we had a community where I think we were at like about 8 artists. And so we put out a couple compilations. So that way we shared the cost, and like we all had a couple songs on it. We all had product to sell and distribute and so on. And at these shows, I was able to negotiate a percentage of the bar, which is kind of unheard of.
Yeah, that is unheard of.
And so we were, and then there's a door. So we've got 2 ways of making money here. And so we always would be introducing new artists, but we have 2 community artists. And the way we did it was, you know, if each artist has a guest list and sells tickets, we can kind of almost double capacity. But if you're part of a community and you're an artist not performing, you also get a guest list of 10. So if we're kind of supporting, like, here's 8 artists, and if each can bring 10 people, that's 80 people without opening doors. And if we could sell double that, that's 160 people. So we know the bar's going to make money.
Right.
And if they're making money, we make money.
Yep.
So let's get people in the door. And it was working great until one thing happened.
What's that?
One band didn't show up one time.
Oh, no.
And the band performing is like, why didn't they not come to our show? And so when that band played, the band that they didn't go to made a point of not going to that show.
Oh, wow.
And it all kind of like, well, why would we do that if it's, and that me mentality was stronger. And I'm like, guys, why do we want to ruin a good thing? Like, we got door money coming in, and everybody's paid fairly, and there's like a percentage of bar coming in, and like, it's good crowds. Like, how are you? And it was also like, if you think of it, if 2 bands are playing and 6 aren't, and 6 brings 60 people, that's potentially all new fans back then. This is pre-social media and all this, right?
Yeah.
So I'm like, this is a win-win all the way around. And it was literally one band didn't go to one show, and it just all went down from there.
You're more focused, obviously, right now on the community aspect and connecting people and internationally,
Yeah.
which is amazing. Between sort of dealing with the artists and seeing what people are doing and your days at HMV, sort of trying to bridge two worlds here.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on getting music out there? Like, I use the word distribution lightly, but obviously a lot of music now is being consumed by streaming. And we all know the deal with streaming. We know that monetarily it's not the greatest thing in the world, relatively speaking, to your HMV days.
Yeah, it's marketing.
Yeah. So what's your thoughts on that whole segment for people out there that are listening?
Truthfully, everything has changed and nothing's changed. And it does come back to people, right? And I've worked with artists in, developing shows where it's capacity crowd every time, without fail. And a lot of them are like, well, how do I do that? I'm like, talk to people. And they're like, well, how? I'm like, literally everyone's on Facebook. Mm-hmm. Everyone's on Instagram. Find a connection and start talking with them. And a lot of it is, here's my show, that's a poster. Here's my song, that's a link. There's no talking. It's just pushing, right? And the regular user is like, well, this artist has sent me this artist. And it turns into white noise because everybody's pushing the same thing, their music.
Do you think, not to cut you off, but do you think that some of that has to do with... I'll use several words. So mental health, but on the heels of not having as much confidence. Is that, am I hitting the right thing?
100%.
Yeah.
And it goes like, we've already kind of like, this is where it's all like combined and full circle. That's why old and new is kind of the same thing. I said before, going out, you talk to people. So then you knew how to talk to people.
Yeah.
After a while, you could do your band pitch like in 30 seconds, no problem, because you've done it enough, right? There was a system in place before. Like when I grew up, you did this to get to next stage. And if you did this, you get to next stage. And record stores were a part of it. Radio stations were a part of it. The venues, the way they were part of it. And that's all bottomed out. And so now it's kind of like for a young artist, it's like you figure out what works for you.
Right.
And it's like, well, where's the blueprint? There's no store to get my music into.
Yeah, right.
Which venue works, and like that's difficult. So, I really feel if you can make the human connection, you build fans. But I'm finding there's that anxiety of I've put stuff out and I feel rejected because it didn't get the likes or comments I thought it deserved. And so therefore now everything, like, do I post this? Should I post that? Should I post this? What do I do for attention? And I'm seeing artists doing TikTok things like dancing and skits and whatever, just trying to get attention.
Sure.
And then they start going, I'm doing so much, I don't have time to do social. I'm like, don't do that stuff. Just don't do that stuff.
Yeah.
Do stuff that works for what will work for your music.
Yeah, yeah.
And
yeah, it's because sometimes it's the wrong attention, right?
It's the wrong attention.
Like if you get that attention, that's great because you get somebody liking your post, which looks good on paper. But when someone comes and says, "Well, how many butts can you put in seats in these different cities?" It ain't gonna happen.
Right. But it's actually very easy. But I wanted to say, like, the thing about it is where it's really messed people up. And I've seen this so much. I was talking about it yesterday. I was at a conference in Netherlands last year, and it was a hip hop conference. And when they were introducing each other, it was funny because I watched them and they're like, I go by, and they would say their artist name, but my name is this. And I'm like, that's kind of like dual personality. Right? Like David Bowie wouldn't say, oh, by the way, my real name is so-and-so. And, Iggy Pop wouldn't go, oh, by the way. And Alice Cooper, it's like, before it was like you were that. Now it's kind of like this double life. And where I feel the mental health part is really hard is they often go, here's my Instagram account. And I'm like, is that your personal one or your artist one? Mm. And they're doing both in that one space. And it's not kind of separating.
Ah, right.
So now it's personal that they didn't get the attention that they wanted.
Right.
Where before it'd be like, well, this is my music. Is that getting attention? I'm okay, but is my music getting attention? So it's very personal, right?
Interesting how energetically connected we are to that social world, right? Online.
Yeah.
It's like it's becoming almost a part of our psyche, right? Like a part of our DNA almost. It's bizarre.
What's the first thing we do when we wake up?
Oh,
What's the last thing we do when we go to sleep?
I'm a culprit of it. I did it this morning when I got up. I know. It's my wife's like, get out of bed, and
it's addicting, right? And that's what algorithms are built for.
Yeah.
So I've studied Instagram a lot over the last 2 years to understand algorithm. And it's actually really easy if you know it, but you got to do it a very specific way. Mm. And it's a computer. It's not a person. And we got to think, I'm trying to reach people, but in between me is this algorithm computer thing. And I got to get through it or around it to get to where I want to go. Mm. And often what we're doing, the algorithm won't let us do that.
Sure.
So, we gotta, it's understanding the game and the rules of the game and play the game. And so that's where I was saying before there was a blueprint. If you do this, you can go from a C class room to a B class room. If you do this, you could get a booking agent and get to an A class room. Like there was these different levels of rooms.
Yeah.
Now it's like, I just book anywhere.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
And like, I remember when I came to Toronto, Horseshoe, if I would play the Horseshoe, oh my God, worst move to make when you're a new artist because you won't draw enough and bad rep.
Right.
But I like you had to call and like, how do I get the booker's phone number? Okay, I got to work at getting the booker's phone number. So I called, hey, Craig, my name's Darryl, an artist. Like, I would like to play. Call me next week. Click. That's it? What? Like, I didn't even get past. Okay. So I called the next week. Hey, Craig, it's Darryl from Edmonton. I called you last week about a show. Call me next week. Click. What? Oh, okay. So I finally got him. Like, okay, I really want to play a show. And he's like, okay, you're going to play a Wednesday. You must bring 50 people or don't ever talk to me again. And you're going to be at this time and da-da-da, da-da-da. Click. Okay. So it's kind of like I had to earn my stripes of like, okay, I got to draw 50 people or I'm never playing here ever again. And so that was built into a lot of clubs, but that was really hardcore because they had that reputation. But you kind of go, okay, that's what I got to do. Mm-hmm. And it's kind of like 50 people and I get another gig. So it wasn't gray area. It was like, I just got to get 50 people out.
Yep.
You know? And I literally was almost like I'd be like, are you coming to my show? You're coming to my show, right? Next Wednesday. And then I just ready, hey, remember, next Wednesday, come to my show. Like I had to talk to everybody I could to try to get people out. And I did. So that's how I kept getting shows. But there was a way to learn, that's what I need to do. If I do that, I get another show. And now it's kind of all over the place.
What's your recommendation for people to overcome the anxiety of putting themselves out there? Because I think there's a big difference, right? Like you talk about the social media profile being the same, being the issue, but I think internally it's the same. Like I think people have a real hard time disassociating them because they put so much of themselves into the art, and that art is now out there. But as you're saying, that's not necessarily enough. Like your art can be out there, but you have to connect with the people.
Yeah. But
like you said, there's anxiety. So how do people try to overcome that anxiety and put themselves, not just the music, but themselves out there more? Because I think that's really a lot of what you're saying. Like a lot of what you're saying is people are just not putting themselves out there. Like sometimes it's not enough. Like to just put out your music. Well, people got to connect with you. I mean, you look at. There's a pile of different artists I can reference, but the classic one is Deadmau5, right? Deadmau5 was putting up like live streams of his cat. Like,
oh yeah,
you know, like here's my life, and he's on his cat like hops up, and you know, like it was just so raw and real, and like people were just looking into his life, and you know, all the time at that point, and it was just like no other person in that genre was doing that like that. But he was giving access to him as is like, hey, this is who I am. If you like it, great. If you don't, great. Now, not everybody can do that though. And especially right now, I've noticed since he started doing that to now, I've noticed that there's a lot more artists that are struggling with anxiety, depression, mental health, all this kind of stuff. But there's got to be a way to overcome, because otherwise some of these amazing artists are going to have the hardest time getting their stuff out there because they're just not willing to put themselves out there as much. So what's your recommendation on that?
Wow. It's such a true statement, right? And I got to say, again, if we look backwards, going back to the name thing, at that time, I believe that was their armor. Like, okay, I'm this, but I'm creating a character. Like Alice Cooper is not Vince Fournier.
Yeah.
This is Alice Cooper, and he talks about that's the character I'm in.
Yeah, right.
And I live that. And I believe there was that differentiation then, because you could go home and nobody knows your home life whatsoever. Now in social, everybody knows, like, hey, you had a hot dog yesterday, right? So that's where I think it's kind of like blurred and and it weighs on people. So I believe it's really practicing what kind of mindset can you have, and can you separate?
There you go.
This is my person. This is my art. And you know, at times it's been interesting because I've told artists this, and I've got blowback from it. I'm like, create 2 Instagram accounts.
That's what I did.
Like, this is your music account. This is your personal account.
Yeah.
And just post music stuff, like only music stuff on your music account, and keep your personal stuff here. Keep that sacred, you know? And then you can kind of control the message that you're putting out there, because it gets so blurred. Like, again, that algorithm, it's a real, like, I show this sometimes when I do webinars. I go, watch. I just liked 3 pizzas, right? And if I go refresh, all the recommendations, half of it's pizza.
Pizzas. Yeah.
And if I scroll a bit more, look, it's pizza. And then I go to them next week. Look, I haven't looked at a pizza or anything. It's still there. Like, algorithm doesn't forget.
No, that's right.
And if you stop engaging, it knows in 30 days, you haven't seen pizza in a while. I'm going to show you some pizza. Oh, look, I haven't seen that in a while. Click. Oh, guess what?
Pizza again, yeah.
Yeah. So this is the thing, is everything you do has a result of some sort. And if we're doing it without thought and just thinking it's a random thing, we get random things, not intentional things. So if my intent is I want to grow fan base, I need to do intentional things to grow fan base, not random. And that's where social and algorithms have messed us all up.
Yeah, right.
Because people want to, like, if it's a personal account, but I'm promoting my music, I just want to be me. So it's really messed people up. And I try to teach, like, you know, here's a 15-minute routine, and then you leave it alone. And you don't think social. You've done your job. It's good. Go live life. Go connect to people. And it cleans out your mental health. And if you do that, it actually starts recommending just music things and not pizzas and not other things, you know?
Yeah.
So anyways, it's a mindset, and it's tough to get there right now, because what we're seeing so much is a lot of despair and so it's hard to kind of get over that. But if you can find a way to go, this is music, this is me, right? And I am my music, and vice versa, but I need to promote it to people.
Yeah.
And I believe this is sort of like, if I put up pizza, somebody might not like pizza. So, why didn't I get as many likes? What's going on here? Right? Where music, it's kind of like we're trying to get as many fans as we can. And then if I post a personal thing and it kind of like pushes certain people away, that's less people liking my music.
Sure.
So that's where it's totally a mess. It's totally a mess. So
no, the dual profile thing is a real thing. I've been doing that for years. When I started the music conference, I started that.
Yeah.
And that was around the time Instagram, Facebook, you know, all kind of started. And I just thought, I got to separate these two. You know, naturally at the time I knew, I was like, there's a whole bunch of not crazy. There's a whole bunch of, you know, eccentric people, you know, who are going to follow me, DJs from all over the world or whatever the case may be. Well, I don't want them to see me holding my little kid or you know, what I had for dinner that night, or, you know, I want my grandma to see that from Florida or wherever she is. So yeah, I think there has to be some sort of a separation there. No different than, like you said, those artist names, right? Those different artists, Malice Cooper and you know, all those different artists that had sort of two personas. And Kiss, I mean, Kiss had there's a
you didn't even know who Kiss was.
Classic example of that, right? Of like, I'm sure their home life was completely different, and you see some of it now. Like, you can see some videos they've put out of like their personal life, and it's just like they're just normal guys, right? But you don't think that when they're in the get up and the they're in that role. Like Alice Cooper's a great example of that. Like when he becomes Alice Cooper, I mean, you believe it.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it's a real
Well, I
thing.
remember at Kiss, there'd be like in the Cream magazine, it'd be like this, like behind a pop can, them trying to hide their face because they don't have the makeup on, and you're like, what does he look like? And so here's the other part: is there was that drawn mystique. Oh, how do I know more?
Yeah.
And so like that's another magnet for fans to go, I want to know more,
Yes.
right? But if you're like, here's my dog, here's my cat, here's everything. That there's also so we're in this. We want to be authentic, but we're kind of losing that mystique, and that draws people in.
Yeah, yeah. You can't give it all up front. You got to give it out in little dribs and drabs, right? You got to make them continue to want more and more and more. And if they know everything, then what's the point? Oh, I know that guy. Whatever.
Oh yeah. Well, so one of our conferences, we really kind of like don't really do social media for almost 10 months. And then it's like, oh, it's coming again. All right, let's start it up again. And, I've got certain tactics, but like we first just post sort of like a black square with some yellow stuff on it. Music is still art. Oh, okay. We're waking people up. 288 likes. What's my next post? Another black square with yellow stuff on it with another statement. Oh, now we're at 388 likes or whatever. And then another one. And it's like, I'm literally trying to prove like I'm posting literally nothing and getting attention. And then once attention is Music Pro Summit, September 4th to 8th, tickets on sale. So we get attention first and then push it.
Yeah.
As opposed to push. And we literally do nothing all year. And organically, we're able to get at least 40,000 views per month. And then with ads, we doubled that. And so instead of working...
That's great.
Yeah, instead of working all year long really hard, it's like, well, let's do it strategically, And when we did those squares where it's like dark, I did literally 9 of them. People are like, well, who do you have speaking this year? And well, what are you going to be talking AI? Are you like, what is with all this stuff? So I found it works when you target the right audience and make them want more, and then give it to them.
Yeah, you gotta make them want it. You gotta keep that going, right? You mentioned AI. What's your thoughts on that anyway? What's your thoughts on how that's sort of introducing itself?
Do you want the real answer or the nice answer?
Well, I mean, we all know the nice answer. I mean, yeah, a combination, I suppose. But what's the real answer?
Well, I'm old, so I've seen changes, cassette tapes, drum machines, backing tracks, quantizing, auto-tune. It all happened without my opinion. Sort of kind of going back to, so my opinion actually means nothing in that it's going to do what it does. I just know I'd like to be aware of what it's doing. So I want to be educated.
Right.
And so it's going to move. The scariest part about AI is we have not seen anything move this fast before. And the second you think you're like, oh, I got it, 5 new things came out 5 minutes ago. And we're in a constant, do I know enough? And I think this is a whole other mindset screw up is like, I don't know enough and this, that, and what is it going to do to me? And that's all happening. But in being online, doing web stuff, I've learned that us humans, we don't adapt. We adapt, but not too fast. Like there's people I know who still have an old computer with Windows 95 or something on it. Like there's still a lot going on in music industry, especially digs their heels in to avoid change. And so stuff's going to happen. And do we use it? Maybe, maybe not. I think that this is one of the things, like there's so many times, hey, this plugin or tool's way better. Yeah, I'll get to that. and never do. So it's going to be weird to see how the adoption rate is going to be to, okay, let's go all in.
Sure.
Or not. And I see that both as creators and as consumers, because I've already seen a lot of people who are listeners go, I don't want to hear any AI, and that's great, you know. So I think there's going to be division in it, but you know, it's kind of like you know, it seems fast, but are people really jumping on? I don't think so. In a lot of cases, you know, there's tools to make videos. So why hasn't every artist created a video for their top song? Right? It takes a long time to jump in. So we'll see. We'll see. But I think ultimately, artists always have their own unique perspective that a computer won't. And I think that's something to protect. And I think that's something to also lift up. But I think there's going to be a lane with AI in it.
Yep.
You know, just like a drum machine. Backing tracks, Milli Vanilli got, you know, their Grammy taken away. Now everybody uses backing tracks.
Yep. That's an example I use all the time.
You know? So like I said, I'm old. I've seen stuff. History sort of has shown everything advances. And sometimes not so fast.
My opinion is that I hope it remains to be a tool.
Yes.
And not something that major parts of the business side decide to leverage to cut out costs, right? Because I can see that happening. I also think it'll backfire short term for sure. I think that people can feel, whether they're conscious of it or not, I think people can feel the difference energetically. I know audibly it's difficult. I mean, my dad and other people I've had on the show have played me stuff. And they're like, listen to this and listen to this. And then they're like afterwards, like, which one was AI? And I guessed wrong. And I'm like, wow. And so that being said, I think that energetically, so there's multiple layers from my standpoint. I think energetically, there's still something to be said about like you said, about the human element being involved in the process. So as long as it remains a tool, I think it'll become accepted, just like all those other things you mentioned, right? Yeah. Auto-tune and tracks and all that stuff. I think that it's a tool to be used for somewhat for creation, for sure. Also could be utilized in live for, you know, multiple reasons. But I think that we still need that human connection. Like, and ultimately, if you're an artist, I use that term lightly because, you know, there's a lot of artists out there that, you know, when they start their careers can't play. Some make it, some don't. Nowadays, you know, in about 3 minutes from now, I can have a hit album ready to go.
Absolutely.
Doesn't mean I can perform it.
No.
Doesn't mean I can sing it. Doesn't mean I can, you know, deal with the rigors of success, let alone the road, you know?
Well, they're all like, a lot of songs come from experiences. And like the best songs I find lyrically, you kind of like, what do they mean? Like there's, again, mystique in some of the lyrics. Some of the songs where I thought they said something, but they actually said something else.
Right.
I actually liked because of what I thought they said. And I think that if anything, being it as a tool, it levels the playing field where, you know, back when I was making music, it was so expensive. It was like $100 an hour in the studio, $1,000 per song to master it. And you had to make plastic, which you always everybody kind of like ordered a bit more than they should, but because they thought the price was lower if they hit that larger amount. We all have boxes in our closet. And so it was like, okay, studio, if we're in for a month and we could get a deal sometimes $50 an hour. And then the 1,000 per track. So that's 10,000 to just get mastering done. We were like in the hole, 25 grand to just have a piece of plastic. And is like, holy, now that's gone down because Well, we've got Pro Tools. Now anybody can do it. And so anybody can make music, has the ability to make music. Whether it's produced well or not, that remains to be seen.
Yep.
But they have the opportunity to do it.
Sure. Yep.
And if we wanted to do a video, we're looking at 20 grand minimum. So now we're like 50 grand in the hole, and a 20 grand video looks like not a great video. So we were always expensing so much. Now imagine with some of the video tools I've seen, an artist taking their music and they producing a video creatively with this tool. Now they've got a visual piece that would have cost thousands and thousands of dollars, and now they could do something on par with a major label artist.
Sure.
And, you know, with a platform like YouTube, now you've got a marketing tool to actually find your demographic worldwide. I think that's amazing. To be able to take your song and create something that's a visual component, that's huge. And you could go, I'm going to do this version, this version, this version. You have 3 versions of it out.
Sure.
And find audiences. And I think that like, if anything, to stay on a positive light, you could be more creative now than ever before.
True.
And so isn't that what being an artist is about?
Yeah. Finding a way to create the art, no matter, you know, how, like, different people create art different ways, right?
Yeah.
You know, like not everybody, and it's subjective too, right? Not everybody thinks what everyone does is cool. So yeah, no, it definitely, as long as it remains a tool and it doesn't start to become, you know, like AI artists that are corporate owned, and like that's a world I don't really think I want to see, because that takes the human element out. And I just, I'm not necessarily going to go to a show where there's a big video screen showing me an AI show. Like I'll stay at home and watch TV, or, you know, watch YouTube or watch whatever. So
yeah,
I think there could be a place for that from an entertainment standpoint.
Yeah.
But I think I always draw a line there. I always say that, you know, the music industry and the entertainment industry, to me, are kind of 2 different pots. You know, the music is again a tool in the entertainment toolbox. Like, you know, Cirque du Soleil has music in it. They have musicians that play, but it's not about the music. They're up here, they're behind, but it's great music and they're great players.
Yeah.
But it's about this, you know, thing in front of you, this theatrical thing in front of you, this human circus. And that's what they bring to the table. But music is still part of it. So I think that music and entertainment can be 2 different things. And can you have, you know, something like the Sphere in Las Vegas? Can you have a virtual concert at the Sphere with an AI artist? Absolutely. Will that take ticket sales away from an actual artist? Not necessarily. It'll take ticket sales away from the Wizard of Oz that was playing, you know, the last 3 weeks, because I'd rather probably go see this than the Wizard of Oz if it's that good. But again, it's subjective. Maybe they do it and it crashes and burns, you know, and the Wizard of Oz sells out for 5 weeks. Who knows?
Yeah. Well, I think, you know, it comes down to the art. You know, like look at Deadmau5.
Yep.
You know, had a persona by wearing a mask with big mouse ears and got to be known for that. So the thing is, though, there was only one Deadmau5.
Yeah.
And he created something, and there's Marshmallow.
That's right.
He's created something, right? Gorillas.
Yeah.
You know, so there's places for it, but done right.
Done right.
And I think that's the key.
And it doesn't take over.
No.
Right? Like not everybody that's DJing is wearing a helmet, right? Like it's kind of hard to do, actually. You can't really see that.
Sometimes I was like, man, that's a long time. I'd be stuffy. I'd have to throw it off and like.
Yeah, he eventually takes it off and puts it beside him for sure.
But yeah, like if it comes from the right place,
okay.
I think it's something that is actually really exciting, because I feel art can now go in places we haven't seen yet, and that'll be very cool.
Well, with things changing, you were mentioning earlier about how you had to send one file at a time. Yeah. With the speed of computers and the cost of hard drive space and the cloud and all this stuff happening, it's exciting times. It's exciting times because we definitely not only Pro Tools. Shouts out to the Digidesign, the original founders and engineers, for creating that. But I think that all of these things play, even high-speed internet, like all this stuff. Like you got people who've never even met and they've made songs together.
Oh yeah.
You know, like that's wild now.
It's crazy. There's a thing I went through teaching, and I go through it every once in a while in webinars and such. And it's like, I think the part of it all is there's just overload, and us humans, it's funny. Like I was teaching Photoshop years ago, and I would be like, okay, everybody, day one, we're going to do something small. Just let's get going. Create a file and draw a red dot. 10 adults took over 10 minutes to draw a red dot.
Really?
And it's like, well, what kind of red? Any red. Any red at all. Draw just red dot. Well, how big of a dot should it be? Any red dot, just anywhere. And it'd be like, where? Anywhere on a file. Like I was actually wearing down 10 minutes. I like just red dot, anybody, red dot. And it'd be like, okay, so we'd get through it and I'd look over. That's a blue dot. And they're like, are you a musician? Yeah, okay. All right, creative. But it was like really hard to do the simplest thing when there's too many options.
Sure.
And I feel that that's part of what's kind of going on. And then my next round teaching that, okay, everybody, you're going to open an 8.5 by 11 file. You're going to click here and choose 100% red, and you're going to draw a dot that's 100 by 100 right in the center. And we were done like that. So that's where I feel like, you know, without a blueprint, without like, there's just so many options right now. I think that's the fear of it, right?
Yeah.
So fear of what to do. I don't want to do it incorrectly. I don't want to do it wrong, and stuff. But yeah, it was, man, I was worn down at the end of that 10 minutes. So okay, my next step is drawing a rectangle. How long is this going to take?
I think one of the things that you brought up in this episode that is a bit of a theme, which is kind of cool, which, you know, I've thought of, but not necessarily as directly as you've put it, is that people are, as whether you're an artist or your venue or whatever, you know, from the marketing side of it, right? Because you create the art and then you got to put it out there. And then you're trying to, like you said, you're trying to get people to dig it and follow it and like it and share it, and you come to your shows and buy your merch and all that jazz. I just think it's interesting that that, you know, it's about, you know, knowing that you have to go after people and then actually going and connecting with the people. And it kind of comes back to every single piece of it, right? Like it's that human connection piece, and it's funny because it kind of took COVID to take that away, for everybody to all of a sudden realize, wow, we really like this. Like I remember when we all came back, Bungie, who works here, who's the tech for the Very Naked Ladies. Everybody was fighting over who was going to take Bungie out, because technically Bungie techs for a couple other bands.
Right.
Well, all the bands wanted to go out at the same time. Everybody was ready to go.
Yeah.
And so I think that, you know, coming out of that, I for sure can speak for myself. I definitely was ready for concerts. I was ready for everything. I wanted, you know, it was, I'll be honest, man, it was a depressing period of time.
Yeah.
For many reasons, not just because I wasn't connecting necessarily with people, but just because you get so used to being able to fill up your cup energetically, musically, emotionally, that, you know, you take it for granted. And then all of a sudden it gets pulled away. And then you realize what you had. It's kind of like when you were in Toronto in the 90s too, right? You kind of didn't realize what you had at the time.
Not at all.
Right. And looking back now, it's like, wow, that was magical.
Yeah.
Right? Comparatively. But I think it's interesting. I'm super optimistic of where we're at in music right now in London and in Canada, and and I think there's a lot of young people right now that are just one of the reasons I do this show. The young people are looking for the answers. What's the answer? Because that's the other thing that we didn't touch on, right? Is like that immediate, I need it yesterday, like gratification thing. Right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, I started this show to kind of put the truth out there, the stories out there, the journey of yourself and everyone else, to sort of give people a perspective. I mean, all kinds of people, even not even the artists, even their parents, like, hey, this is what I went through. This is what your son or daughter could go through, whatever. But just taking the gatekeepers out for a second, and hopefully trying to, one of the things that we do in the music store business is we try to, sell the dream.
Right.
And that's where I think the education piece comes in, because when you don't have the blueprint, you need the education. You got to start all over.
Yeah.
Right.
It's really tough.
It is. And what you're selling, what Fanshawe and OEArt are selling, is the dream.
Yeah.
Because without the dream, they're selling nothing.
Here's the steps to your dream.
Yeah.
That's really it,
Yeah.
And I got to say, as an educator, it's so rewarding when you see it actually, the advice taken and results happen. There's nothing more rewarding about that,
Definitely.
We had an artist. I'll kind of give a quick small plug. Last year we had an artist play on a show. It was Chris Koster. He was ex-guitarist for Glorious Sons.
Yep.
Open for Rolling Stones. He's like, not much more he can do there. He's solo, and we had him on a show, and Justin Gray was the moderator, and Justin is a prolific songwriter from LA, Canadian born, but in LA. 8 billion streams, 40 million sold, so he's well established. They connected, and next thing I know, Chris is in LA writing songs with Justin, and they've now got a project together. So they're about to, I think they've just released 9 or 10 songs. And so that's the thing is, when you see those kind of relationships happen, and now here's a new art piece that's created as a result, that's what's always going to happen, I feel. There's always going to be two personalities that some way go, we should do something together. Totally. Let's write something. And I think that's where AI won't take over.
No. No, it won't. And there's examples of that all over the place. The music industry changed in 2009 completely. Rock and hip hop were kind of coming down, and all of a sudden dance music just went through the roof. Yeah. And there's a YouTube video of it, actually. You can look it up online, of David Guetta talking about when he did the track with Akon. And Sexy Chick. And a lot of people don't realize, but Akon is A&R for hip hop for Universal in New York. Oh, yeah. And so, at least he was at the time when I watched this video. I'm not sure if he still is or not, but I think he is. He's involved anyway. He was at a music awards, as the story goes. I'll paraphrase it, but he was at a music awards in the UK, and so was Guetta, but he didn't quite realize who David was. And they sat together at the table, and they were like, "Hey, how's it going? Yeah, I'm David Guetta. Oh yeah, I'm Akon." And David knew who Akon was. Yeah. And so David went up to perform his song with Kelly Rowland from the Destiny's Child, right? And they performed that song, and then he came down off the stage, and I guess as the story goes, Akon was losing his mind. He goes, "Dude, that is my favorite song right now. I had no idea that was you." And Guetta's just such an outgoing guy. He's like, "Hey, why don't we work together?" And he's like, "Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'll give you a shout when I get back to him." No, like tonight. Like, yeah. And they went and rented a studio, and in that night they recorded the track that ended up being Sexy Chick. Oh wow. And Sexy Chick was coined as the turning point, where because we were coming out of hip hop, and because dance had also had a bit of a run, but it was the 90s, a lot of the 90s dance in North America was kind of, it was Euro, right? There was a Euro influence there. And so there needed to be a change. Well, when those two worlds came together, because Guetta was already doing a lot of really cool stuff because he came from a French house background. So when they came together and those two worlds collided, and then they had that music video with all the girls and guys all at the pool, and it looked cool.
Yeah.
Right? It looked like a scene that you'd want to be at. And that changed everything, because all of a sudden, every DJ out there went, oh, yeah, that's it. That's the sound. That's the look. That's the vibe. We got to jump on this train. And a lot of them did. And that just, it started a revolution. I mean, I started my music conference in 2009 because of it.
Right.
Not because of it, but when I started it, I realized this was happening, and I'm like, wow, we really need to bring all these dance music people in. And so I think that, you can, the collaboration side of it will always be highly important.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot. There could be a line to that. I see some of these credits where there's like, some of these dance songs where there's like, her hip hop songs where there's like 12 people credited on the song. I don't know about that. I mean, that's a lot. But
that's making sure everybody's getting fed somewhere.
Yeah.
That's what that is.
Yeah, but I think the collaboration thing is awesome, and I love collaborating. In fact, most times my favorite songs I've ever written, and some of the favorite stuff that I've ever done musically, is collaboration for sure.
Well, we always think Lennon, McCartney, Richards and Jagger, and Steve Tyler, Joe Perry. Mm-hmm. And even Elton John, and as a songwriter.
Yep, absolutely.
I'm a big fan of Tom Waits. He doesn't write the lyrics.
Oh yeah, Tom. Yeah.
His wife does. Right. So that's the thing, is a lot of great music is all collaborations, and I think that's something that will always happen.
Yeah, man.
So
what's so Venue by Venues this week?
Yeah,
right.
It is.
Here? It's happening.
It's happening.
What can people expect to find this week? What's going on with it?
Yeah, so we've got 55 artists, couple from Brazil, South of Africa, across Canada, and of course Ontario, in 7 venues. And the whole venue by venue means if you get a wristband, you get to go to everything. Mm-hmm. So I encourage club hopping. And a lot of the times the best experience is when you don't know who's playing where and you just go. And we've got a 2-day conference. So we've got education, panels, demo listening, mentorships, talks on sync licensing and such, all during the day. Cool. And it's a place where we really try to open up. Our speakers are attainable. You could talk to them. Because a lot of times you go to conferences and it's like, oh, I want to talk to, oh, there they go, they're gone.
Yeah.
So we try to make sure there's a lot of space to actually have conversations with our delegates.
That's amazing.
And a lot of them are bookers or events within Ontario and abroad, and their purpose here is to scout artists. So for majority of them, we've got agreement that they should book about 2 artists each. So a good number of artists should get shows as a result of playing.
That's exciting, man.
Yeah.
That's very cool.
It's, it's what we try to do is one thing leads to another. And so it's kind of like, you just don't know. And if you get booked to play at another show, you don't know what's going to happen there, but now here's a door open for it.
Very cool.
Yeah, that's what's really exciting. I get a kick out of all that stuff, is like when an artist gets booked somewhere else and opportunities open up. But the big side of it is, this is life too. And we know the music business is hard.
Yeah.
And we've talked about mental health kind of stuff. When you give that opportunity to go, you mean I get a chance to play at that? Now there's a bit more drive. Now there might be more like confidence, and you just see this artist grow. And when they come back, it's like, look at what we did. You know, we used to do Indie Week in Ireland and Manchester. We'd have Canadian artists there, and I'd go, what other Canadian artist do you know is playing in Ireland this week? I don't. That's right. That's you. So when you go back, you should say, that's what we did. And so many times, you know, artists, they've got their careers and maybe they're not artists anymore, but often they come back and go, that was one of the best experiences I've ever had. And so that means more than anything. And I hope that that helps them carry it on to someone else as well.
Absolutely.
So there you go.
There you go. What's coming down the pipe for you in the future outside of Venue by Venue? What else you got going on and coming up? Anything?
Yeah, like so to build these international relationships, I go to conferences a lot.
Yeah.
So I do travel a fair bit. I'm off to Colombia, Ecuador, Galapagos, Rio, Bangkok, and possibly India and Africa, talking at conferences. So this is the go talk about what we're doing here to try to get their attention to work on partnerships.
For next year for the international thing.
Yeah. And so we usually do exchanges where, okay, we'll take some of your artists, but you take some of ours. So that's the marketplace trade that we deal with, music export and import. And as we build the festival, it allows for more international opportunities. So we've got Africa, Brazil already, obviously, but we've got relationships growing in Thailand and Asia, Eastern Europe, Portugal, and a few other places as well. So hopefully we'll be able to bring a lot more to London.
Yeah, man. Where can people find out about the festival? Where can people find you?
Sure. Well, just Google my name, Darryl Hurs. I'm pretty easy to find.
Yeah.
Instagram and all that. Instagram is the main place where I'm at, and LinkedIn, and VenueXVenue.com.
Sweet. Well, dude, thanks for coming off an insane flight to get here.
Man, this is great. I love this stuff. I love connecting, like even hearing, you know, your background and stories. That's important. So I appreciate you and for doing this. So thank you.
You're welcome, man. Thanks for coming on. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for watching the show. Ryan here. We'll see you on the next episode. Take care, everybody. Thank you for watching Music City Live. If you liked this episode, like the video. And for more clips and episodes, subscribe to the channel. Feel free to join the conversation by commenting below and visit us at musiccityliveshow.com.